I'm excited to have on the podcast Aaran Mckenzie from the band While She Sleeps, who are about to drop their sixth studio album, which is coming out March 29th. So, dude, I am hyped for the release. How are you feeling? Are you excited or maybe even a little bit nervous?
I'm a little bit of a mixture of everything, honestly. With like a little bit of relief because, like, there's so much anticipation, like leading up to an album release, man. Like it's been like every album's a couple of years in the making, and it's such a long journey that and the closer you get to the release, like everything starts ramping up, and you have so many things to do, especially with like shooting the music videos. We're just like, we can never stick to a deadline. If we have something we need to achieve, like a music video or finishing a song, whatever it is, we leave it as late as we possibly can for whatever reason. And for some reason we work best under pressure. But yeah, so that means, yeah, just like a lot of things are happening right now, like loads of like interviews. Like I said, we've just wrapped up and To the Flowers, like that's just come out, which we shot the music video for. Like that was like a 6-week process at the start of this year. So yeah, a lot of stuff's going on, but I'm definitely feeling all the feelings at the same time, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said you do it kind of last minute, because the quality of everything that you guys do would, like, from my perspective, looks otherwise. It seems like you guys have been doing it for like, months and ready to finally put it out. But yeah, I kind of agree where I work best under pressure too, very last minute.
Yeah, and it's not that like we're being really blasé about it and like and not thinking about it and leaving it. It's just that we, like with anything we do, we're perfectionists when it comes to the things that we do, and we're not just going to put out, whether it's piece of merch, music video, or song. We want to make sure that it's the best thing it can possibly be, and also are packaging it with like the correct message that we want to portray. So it all takes it. We just, yeah, it's hard to make decisions sometimes. I think that's our problem. And then when we make the decision, we're like, okay, now we've only left ourselves this amount of time, so we really need to get to work. So, but it always works out. It's just we've got a formula now, and that's just how we work.
You guys, yeah, I can definitely tell that you guys have a formula. But one other thing I like about you guys is that I feel like with each album, there's always just like a different evolution to the band. And I'm wondering, is it like something conscious that you guys are like thinking like, okay, we have to try something different, or is it more natural? Like, okay, this is where we're at in our lives. We want to sound a little bit different on this record.
A conscious thing. I think just each record kind of just like represents where we are at as people and like what kind of music we're listening to. Just like, influenced by a bunch of different things, no matter what it is. Every album is a timestamp, almost like a time capsule of our lives, and it really does represent like the part of our lives when it was created. Like when I look back at albums like This Is the Six and Brainwash, like you can really like hear like how young and pissed off we are. Yeah. Just like whether it was like the political climate or whatever, but I think where we are at now as musicians, as people, like where we are as people translates directly into the music, and we've been on such a journey since those albums, since This Is the Six and Brainwashed, like we were like screaming outwardly to the world, I think, on those records, because we were quite naive. I mean, we were in our early 20s. We were like 21 when This Is the Six came out, and I think as time has gone on, just like everybody has, I think every human on this earth experiences this, but like as you get older, you start to look more inwards and start to think like, if I change myself on a personal level, then that, will directly influence the people around me, and that has a ripple effect. And eventually that's how we change the world, is by changing ourselves on a personal level. So that's kind of what like the last few records have been about. It's really been about like introspection and dealing with, our own demons, but like we really like to layer the meanings of stuff, so it's like what happens within you internally can definitely represent what's happening with the world at wide, you know. Um, but yeah, like self-help definitely is the culmination of just that kind of message where we are as people. We've been through a lot as people and as a band at this stage, and yeah, and it's just about us reflecting on that and kind of like if you know if we've got a platform to like send a message out there, we want to like use our personal experiences with where we're at and kind of spread that outwards because we've had a very being in a band and doing this like you have a very unique perspective on the world and it's one that I wouldn't trade for the world, but you know I think you kind of get like fast tracked through life in a way in terms of like we experience so many emotions like traveling all the time and like being on the road and meeting so many different people that you know I think it's a perspective that we can share in like a positive way, you know, and yeah, like we've been through the battles like inwardly, all of us, and yeah, this album definitely. I mean, even the title "Self Hell," you know, it's like we're talking about like the struggles that everybody goes through, but like I think the thing that we've learned with the internal struggles is that they're necessary, you know, like life has ebbs and flows. It's you can't have the good without the bad, you know, and and you have to go through those things. You get to self hell before you get to self help, you know, and I think those negative times are necessary and it creates resilience. So I think it's just spreading that message of just never giving up and those negative things that happen to you can ultimately be a positive thing. And then when you're self-aware of that, you can share that message with other people and hopefully we can be nicer to each other.
What a way to sell the album.
Yeah. Yeah, well, once I get talking, sometimes I just never stop. So you have to maybe interject sometimes.
No, you're great for a podcast, man. Just go off. But like, how does this translate? I guess sonically, like this seems like a lot of introspection and really very thoughtful message that a lot of people can resonate with. And like, I feel like I totally resonate with it too. Like being, you know, I'm going to be turning 34 this year, so I agree with a lot of sentiments about doing a lot of introspection and. You know, back when we were younger, well, when I was younger too, I was just like mad at the world. And now, you know, you have to do self-help before you, or self-help or afterwards from self-help too, which I really like that message. But how does this like sound a little bit sonically different? Obviously we have some of the singles, which sound pretty different than some other While She Sleeps, but like the whole record, how does this sound a little bit different than other While She Sleeps records?
It's definitely the most I mean, we've always been a band who doesn't stick to kind of one particular sound on any given record. It's no different with this one. Actually, it's reached fever pitch, and this is probably like climactically the most diverse record we've ever written, and that's probably because it's probably the most collaborative record, I would say, in terms of like everybody having equal parts in the writing. We've always written together, but you know, Sean has always been the musical mastermind behind everything. And that's not to say he writ any less. He didn't at all. You know, he's always writing. He's a crazy dude. When he never stops, basically.
Yeah.
But we all kind of just more than ever, we all just had like an equal hand in it, and I think that's why it comes across the way it does. I think we've got probably like the heaviest song we've ever written on this record, and we've got the most melodic song we've ever written on this record, and everything in between as well. And I think like, you know, it's never a conscious decision for making a song sound a certain way. It's just, you know, like I said before, like it's just the influences that we have at the time. And I think particularly Sean is like on this crazy like synth journey, has been for best part of a decade, and when we started incorporating that into So What, like it only made sense that we continue to evolve that, especially like in between records, you know, as he's continuously writing, we just hear him getting better and coming up with more interesting sounds. So that's definitely still very present on there. But yeah, I think we always just try and push the boat out. We try and take avenues of the previous record And because, you know, that also happens. The previous record influences the next, you know what I mean? It's never going to be this like completely left field drastic change. But we just push the boundaries of like where we can go with that. And then it like branches out, you know, each avenue that we explore is a branch. And then from that one, we take other branches. It's like a multiverse of influence, you know? So yeah, I guess it's just us pushing the boundaries in that way. And yeah, just seeing where we can take it, I guess.
It sounds like there's also some like discomfort too, trying to get like comfortable with the discomfort and trying new things to push the boundaries of your music too.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's how we've learned that being in a band. Like, you have to embrace the discomfort, you know, to do what we do. And like, yeah, we live and breathe that message. And I think no matter on what kind of level, whether it's a music level or a human level, I think you have to. You don't grow otherwise. You know, growing pains are a thing. You don't grow without it being painful. So yeah, we have to put ourselves through those things, but ultimately it's rewarding.
Yep.
So
And one thing that seemed painful, but also extremely rewarding, and something that I was totally blown away by you being a mastermind at, was the To the Flowers music video. So I didn't know that you had this talent of filmmaking, you know, this skill set. And I'm just wondering, like, you already mentioned some of the challenges, but how long? You said 6 weeks, right? That's how long the music video took to make from start to finish?
yeah, it went from concept to release in 40 days.
Wow.
It's crazy.
What were some of the biggest challenges with making that music video?
Oh, where do I even begin? Just the entire thing, really. You know, like, this goes back to what I was saying at the start about us like leaving things pretty late, and sometimes it's not because we want to. It's just because we have a million things going on, like especially the back end of last year after like Ali Pali, and you know, we went to Australia and Southeast Asia, and you know, we want to sit down in the dressing rooms and like develop this crazy concept because for a music video, because we know we have to shoot one in the new year, but it just sometimes it just doesn't happen because we're living on like 4 hours sleep sometimes, like you know, like touring, especially in Asia and that part of the world, because we're playing like a different country every day, so it's like you have to be up and out, and you know, so we don't have time. So it was the 2nd of January where we locked ourselves in the office and just ripped the concept. We knew vaguely what we wanted it to be about. We knew we wanted it to be like this tragic love story, you know, like a representation of like how real life can get. But we didn't have the plots, you know, like the beat by beat, like what actually happens in the music video, what are the scenes. So we did that in a day on January the 2nd, and then from the 3rd of January, the next 2 weeks consisted of just pre-production logistics, like what are the locations, who are the actors, where are the scenes taking place, like all these different things, like what I had to do, like shot list and inspiration for like colors, composition, and everything. And then after that 2 weeks, we start shooting. And the way that I kind of like designed the shooting days was like a day on, day off, day on, day off, and then the weekend off. And I thought we'd be able to do it in a total of 6 days over 2 weeks. So I learned from Eye to Eye because I shot that as well.
Oh, did you?
I did, yeah.
I just saw it like, edited, but damn, wow.
Yeah, I shot that as well. But we like killed ourselves on that because we shot for 7 days straight, getting, you know, and all of that video takes place at night. So we were getting home at like 4 a.m. and then whatever. Long story short, it really took its toll on us, that video. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it like this. It's gonna take longer, but at least we can have breaks. And then I discovered on the first day, I was like, we're gonna need to fill these days because we're not gonna shoot everything we want to shoot. So it turned out it was actually a 10 days total shoot over 2 weeks. So it was pretty much Monday to Friday over 2 weeks. so that was really difficult. Just the pace that we were moving at, because we were in one location for no longer than 3 hours at a time, and to get everything like, and I had so all of Sleeps, like we were all like crew members basically. I shot it. It's like Sav was first AD, Loz was taking care of wardrobe, and but apart from that, the two other people who actually know things about filmmaking, I just had two other people with me, which was a gaffer, and he had it's called a Spark. He had like an assistant. So it's just like, so it all, how it looked all rested on my shoulders, which weighed. I don't know if you can see, but I've still got eye bags from this video. It was it was difficult, man. But we were in a location for no longer than 3 hours. That getting the lighting in, getting it all set up. I didn't know what it was going to look like before I've got the camera in place, got the lighting in, and then throwing our actors in there, getting the scene done, packing down, and then moving on. So it was a crazy couple of weeks, man. And then it was 2 weeks after to basically edit and color grade as well. And I literally put it online to, set it to premiere 2 days before it came out. So I was, it was like right against the wire. But we did it, and it came out great. And I love like how much it's resonating with people, because especially with a project with that tight of a turnaround, when you're so close to a project, it's hard to step outside the box and look at it for what it is, and it got to the point, like I remember like a couple hours before the premiere, I was like freaking out, because I was like, shit, like we're dealing with like, and obviously this was at the forefront of our minds, but we're dealing with like really like heavy subject matters, and we try to approach it in a really like graceful and tactful way with it, so it wouldn't be traumatizing to the viewer. Like the word we had at the forefront of our minds throughout the whole shoot was suggestive. Be suggestive, not showing anything graphically. But it was really nerve-wracking, because this is why we stuck like a content warning at the beginning, because just I didn't want to affect people negatively with this. The hope is always to affect people positively, which is the very reason why we do everything that we do. But you just never know, but I've had like direct messages from people who have gone through those particular subject matters and said that you handled it very gracefully. It's actually helped me a lot to, and it's like seeing these things have kind of like it's given me a little bit of a release, and it was almost therapeutic, and that's just like so nice to hear, and like a really I breathed a big sigh of relief like once I started hearing things like that, because the last thing I want to do is affect people negatively. But literally I've not even seen a negative comment about it, which is amazing, because you put so much into these things. So yeah, I'm glad that people are liking it.
Yeah, it seems so obvious to me. It's easily the best music video of the year so far, and I think it's going to be very hard to beat that. Like, we're early on in the year, but like it's incredibly done. It's the same emotions that I can get, and I've seen other people get from something like Spirit Box Constants or something, just a very emotional music video. But like the amount of effort in the locations, the color grading, the acting, the directing. That's why I was just blown away that it was actually you behind the camera. And I remember Eye to Eye being a really good video, but I just assumed, I guess it was Tom Welsh, right? Matt's brother he did The Guilty Party too, which was really good. One thing that I really like about To the Flowers is just like the style. It just looks like an A24 film or something. That you have no idea. That's literally the biggest compliment I can receive. I love A24 films. It probably comes through in the visuals. Yeah, well, I mean, it's a compliment for sure. So like, I guess that kind of answers the question that I have. But like, what were like the actual inspirations? Like, I don't know, maybe directors that you look up to in terms of that short film, which To the Flowers.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like visual references, The End of the Fucking World came up quite a lot. I don't know if you've seen that Netflix show. That came up quite a lot.
Yeah.
And it just looks so cool. And Benedict, the director of photography for The End of the Fucking World, he's just like, He did the second season at least, but yeah, he's just a DOP wizard, and really like look up to his stuff. So that was big for visual references. We basically wanted it to look like an indie movie. You know, we wanted it to look. You know, Juno was also like a big reference for it. For it to look like just like stripped back, but for it to look cinematic at the same time, and for no big fancy movements, like camera on a tripod for the lot of the time, and yeah, and for it to feel timeless as well, like not wanting to incorporate like any technology. If that, I mean, there's like one scene where he's in the office before he receives the news of the pregnancy, where he's on a laptop, but even that is just like an old school like it's not like a Mac or anything like that. Just to make it feel like timeless, because I don't know, I'm probably showing my age with this, but like I feel like sometimes when I see like new technology in like a movie or something, it kind of it takes me out of the story a little bit. So that was a big thing. But yeah, man, it's it's honestly, it's such a privilege to be able to do this, because I've got like two pillars of like occupational passions in my life, and one is filmmaking, one is while she sleeps, and when I can bring the two together, you know, I'm on cloud nine, and it's amazing. And honestly, we couldn't get a project like this done if it wasn't for just like the go and get 'em attitude of just like sleeps in general. Like I couldn't have done it without Matt just like saying yes to like, yeah, I can fill a car with water if you want that. You know, like he was the one who handled those things, and like setting up the drive-in cinema and getting in contact with all those people. And like me and Sav worked very closely just on the creation of this whole thing, and Sav was an absolute dream to work with. Like he's worked with me on my he's first AD'd like a short film that I did a while ago. So I just, you know, yeah, it just couldn't be done without everybody you surround yourselves with, you know. But yeah, I've been shooting everything, all our videos since Eye to Eye. Did Self Hell too. A lot of people didn't think we did that one ourselves, but we did it ourselves, man.
Wow,
you know?
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, just it is good that people that it doesn't. I don't know what a band's video is supposed to look like if they shoot it themselves, but it's cool that people are surprised by it, at least, you know.
That's actually crazy. These music videos are just some of the best. Even Self Hell was like a very, very like visually striking music video too. It's just crazy that you have these like skill sets that I don't know, to your band too. And like you were talking about, like, you know, filmmaking's one passion project, and I watched your short film too, Upheaval.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I want to know, like, because I'm a fan of horror films too. Personally, the more like indie A24, I guess, horror films.
Yeah.
What was like this? So this is like a pure passion project. Like, were all the resources and finances like this? It was all you completely.
What? So you mean just with my filmmaking and just like the different avenues that I do, like short films and stuff?
Yeah, it just seemed like a pure passion project where, like, To the Flowers, you know, it's While She Sleeps, you got support there. Was like Upheaval just like a whole separate thing that you just like did completely all on your own?
Yeah, sure. Like, so I guess just to give like a really brief background of it. So I've been doing it for like 8 years, and been taking it seriously for like, I'd say the past 4. For the first 4 years, I was kind of just like, I was practicing on the band pretty much. Like, just like if we needed like any tour content or whatever. Like, wait, you know, you mentioned Tom Welsh. He was when we first started trying to make a success of this thing, he was there with us, shooting all our music videos, came on tour with us, shot all our tour content. And I feel like we were definitely like ahead of the curve a little bit back in the day. I'm talking like 2010 to 2012. You know, we would really like bang out content where in an age before like people really like put it out that much. And you know, he got really good, and when we lost him to people who could pay him because we couldn't pay him at the time. Mm-hmm. So I mean, he's an amazing cinematographer now, like he has been for years, and he does great work. But when he left, he kind of left a hole of, we didn't really have anybody to film anything. And when we started to Sony back in the day, for Brainwashed, they gave us like a care welcome package or whatever, and there was some Sony action cams in there, and I just put mine to use. And it was something that I never really thought I would get into as much as this, but there was some sort of spark with it, and I just couldn't put it down. And yeah, long story short, it's just evolved into this over time, where I shoot other bands' music videos, and the passion really lies, I shoot music videos. I love that. I've done like business promo documentaries and all that kind of stuff, but my passion really lies with like narrative filmmaking and like feature film narrative filmmaking, and that's the goal I'm working towards. And that's why I'm like making shorts like off my own back. Upheaval was funded. It was independently funded by a production company called Big Bad Films. And off the back of that, because you get no return in investment with short films, they wanted me to write a feature film loosely in that universe. So I did that, and that's finished now. So I'm just like, I'm trying to get that ball rolling. But then I'm also like writing another feature script and just making a bunch of shorts at the same time. I just literally filmed a short over the weekend, like a sci-fi horror thing, and that was like on literally zero budget. I just the filmmakers and people I know around me, I was just like, let's just head out and film something for the day. So yeah, just finished that. So my time is, I don't have much time to myself.
It doesn't sound like it.
I'm either doing sleep stuff, or when I'm not doing sleep stuff, because that's always my priority. If I'm not doing that, I'm doing filmmaking. So yeah, my time's taken up quite a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like it. You got another, I don't know if you already like mentioned it being one of the projects, but Mrs. Baker's chair.
Mrs. Barker's chair, yeah. That's just undergoing the film festival run at the minute. The ones I've applied for, you don't get a notification date just yet. So just waiting for that to hopefully get into some festivals, and then I'll put it out online. And then then I've got this other one that I'm about to, that I will release at some point. So yeah, it's just about like working towards that goal, man, because like, I just love filmmaking so much. And if Sleeps has taught me anything, it's that if you want something enough and you work hard enough for it, then you will get there at some point. I really do believe that. I was massive into like the law of attraction and shit, like when I was in my 20s. I don't believe it so wholeheartedly now, but there is things that I do take from. I don't take it at face value, but I think there's definitely something to, if you think about something enough and have your actions constantly coincide with what you think, then things will happen related to that. And I've seen it happen with my filmmaking stuff. I said in my early 30s, I said, before I'm 40, I want to make a feature film. I don't know how it's going to happen. All I know is I'm going to show up every day, and that's as much as I can do. And I'm not going to waste energy on knowing how it's going to come to pass. And I've just seen the next stepping stone put itself there, just in front of me, and I'll just step onto it, and then the next one goes there. And it's the same thing that happened with Sleeps. It's just that I think that happened quicker because we had 5 brains and 5 people and 5 energies just being like, this is what we're fucking going to do, and we went for it. But yeah, I really do believe that there is some magic to the universe, and because like I've already, I've achieved a childhood dream of mine, which is amazing. I'm so grateful for it. I don't take it for granted one day in my life.
What's the childhood dream?
Oh, the being in a band.
Oh, okay, okay.
And making that success. But the older I'm getting, the more you realize that life is finite, and you don't get long at all. Years are going so fucking quick, and so yeah, this is something I really want to do, and so I've got to put the effort in and do it, otherwise it won't happen.
Yeah, law of attraction is kind of similar to like just manifesting things. I remember an old job of mine, we had to they want to put a Bristol board and like put like things you want. Like I remember just thinking kind of moderate, like I want a Volkswagen Jetta, I want like an apartment in the city and stuff. And like I was like in my early 20s, and then I got all this stuff, but like I ended up getting a car that was even nicer than a Jetta in my opinion. So yeah. It's just like, yeah, when you just kind of like, you know, when you're actually just like thinking positively and you're just trying to like reinforce that and just trying to do these stepping stones, I feel like you're just granted with more opportunities, and then you end up surprising yourself and you have to stop and smell the roses once in a while. Like, oh yeah, I did achieve my childhood dream and all this stuff too.
Yeah, definitely. And that was Ali Pali for me. Like it was, yeah, standing on that stage and just taking it in. Yeah, there was nothing like it, man. It was just insane, and like so emotional around that time, because I just felt like it was 17 years worth of work boiled down to one show, and I was like, man, this is fucking heavy. But yeah, man, it was something special that night.
What's the capacity at Ali Pali?
10,000. I think it's just over. You can sell it to like 7 and call it sold out. But we didn't do the fake sellout. We did 10,000, which is unbelievable. No, something we'd never dreamed that was possible.
Yeah. You know? It's crazy. You guys are always seeming like trying to do more and more, and even like in terms of marketing actually. So the next question that I want to ask is like your marketing always continues to surprise me as a band. It was So What, where you were doing the hazmat suits with the USB sticks and giving a sample of Antisocial, right? And then I'm just trying to understand like what's the like marketing approach that you're doing with this record that might be a little bit different from previous records.
Honestly, like in terms of like marketing, there's nothing like too extravagant going on with it, apart from like just like the usual stuff. Like, you know, with So What, it depends when the ideas strike, you know. With So What, like we had the idea to like go around town with the guy in the hazmat suit because of like, because, you know, it represented the single from Antisocial and all that. You know, that was a really fun thing to do. You know, and like Ali Pali, like, you know, Parkway Drive, like holding up the banners, like when these ideas like kind of spark, we do them, you know, like but you know, with this record, like I said, like the marketing is everything really, the whole package of the album, like with every idea that we kind of come up with, like whether it's the music video or, you know, whatever it is, like we put in so much effort with that music video, that, you know, we're doing like a bunch of cool stuff, like listening party, like with the fans, that's happening this weekend, one for the society, one for the public. We're doing a cool like a bunch of like in-store like alternative shows off the back of 2 Empiricon festival shows, which is in like 2 weeks, and that's really fun to like take some, you know, the songs that we've kind of like written over the years, like a couple like of the new ones, but like, you know, there is some like oldies in there, which is going to be really exciting, and they translate so well to like, you know, a more chilled back, that kind of stripped back vibe. So we're doing that, and then yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of it, but just kind of like letting the record speak for itself, I guess.
Yeah, and go with the flow when certain ideas come to mind. I get that.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Speaking of some shows and tours, like you got the North American tour with Architects and Of Mice and Men too, which I'm going to be there. I'm super excited. I think Toronto's the first date too, so I'll be there.
Yeah, it's the first date, yeah.
What's the difference with you know, your audience reception with like Europe shows and like North America?
Like in terms of like it all kind of depends where you go really, because like North America's so big. You know, it True, all like like the different places kind of vary. In terms of like, you know, like Europe is the same as well, because obviously you've got so many different countries there. Like I find that there's a lot of similarities between like we love, I'm not just saying this, but because you're Canadian, right?
Toronto, yeah.
Got that right, cool. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's similarities between like the Canadian fans and like fans from Europe, particularly around you know, Germany. is like Germany is like our next best market apart from the UK, because like the German fans are just so fucking passionate about rock music. And I
Cool.
don't know what it is about Canada, but every time when we go to North America, it's like we look forward to the Canadian part of it, just because like the people it shows are just so hungry for it. And I don't know, because you have a lot of shows coming through Toronto and places like that, right? It's like it's not like you guys are starved for it, but like the shows are always just so fucking cool. And it's same for Germany. Same, I mean, Spain is amazing for us. Um, and then like you definitely got cool places in America itself, also in the States. We always like love going to the West Coast, and New York's always cool. Um, but yeah, I think like a standout for us is definitely just Canada as a whole. And I love going to like Western Canada too, because like the drives through there are so fucking it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful country. Like,
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be like I get up like super early every time like we're driving through Canada, and I just like stick my head out the window. I'm just like, it's like being off a planet from Interstellar or some shit.
Yeah, you gotta shoot some B-roll too or something for like a future
Oh yeah,
project.
well yeah. I've usually got my hand sticking out the window, like freezing off with a camera.
Yeah.
You caught me out. I definitely do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true though that like Canada, we do have a very I don't know why either. Maybe because it's cold and we need to vent out our frustrations from the cold weather to in these metal shows. But yeah, we do have a very active heavy music scene. I don't know. It's just always been like that. Also with our like content creators, I don't know if you noticed, but like a lot of like the metal space content creators are all from like Ontario and like Toronto area. It's just like a weird coincidence. But,
yeah, for sure.
Totally off topic, but something that I really wanted to ask you about, and something that I'm very impressed by, is the you're sober from alcohol for like more than a year now, right?
Yeah.
I find that very interesting, and like kudos to you, man. I personally like before I asked you, like my father would like he stopped drinking like I don't know like 20 years ago, and it's something I've always aspired about him. So I actually didn't drink for the longest time until I was like 21 years old. I think I had my first time actually drinking, so I was a late bloomer. But even lately, I feel like I've been trying to cut back a little bit. In my old videos, I used to drink beer, and now I'm always drinking coffee. But I think it's because I don't want to rely on alcohol to bring out certain things in me. Where like why do I need alcohol as like liquid courage sometimes? So I'm just like So I've been limiting on booze, and so when I see like people like being sober for a year, like I find it so interesting. I just want to know your journey, and if you're comfortable talking about it, but like what made you want to try sobriety?
It's something I've been trying to achieve for like the past 5 years. So, as you can imagine, being a young man going, especially from the UK, because like the drinking culture is so big in the UK, breaking out into the music industry like late teens, early 20s, we were just before like my brain had fully, had its full chance to develop. I got thrown into a whirlwind of drugs and alcohol where it wasn't just accepted but encouraged. And if you turned up like drunk somewhere, or like if you're like a little bit of a mess, it's just like, oh, it's is from that band, like it's all good, that's what they do. And I've got like a very addictive personality, just like I was saying, like with like the whole filmmaking thing or whatever. If I'm fucking doing something, I'm doing it. I'm not doing it by halves. I'm doing it. Drinking and drugs were no different. And over time, it started becoming very much a problem. Something I hid very well, even from my bandmates. They didn't really know like the extent of the problem. To be honest with you, I kind of like denied it for myself too. I was very much in denial about it. And it wasn't until like the last couple of years where it was just like it was just getting like quite heavy. It was at the start, it was very much like party. This is great, but you know, like I was saying about being in a band, being a very particular lifestyle, like you get thrown onto the road for like months at a time, and then you are expected to come home and be able to live life like a normal person. And for me, I found it very hard to switch that party off, especially because I lived I lived with my dad until I was like I moved out at like 30, which is just crazy. But you know, my dad very much. I lost my mum quite when I was like 20, which that also definitely didn't help my perpetuation with drinking and drugs. But when you live with like a single parent, you can very much just get on with your own lives. So I was very much like got home from tour and I was like, I don't really know how to turn it off. So I was just, yeah, I just drank all the time, man. And honestly, like I have drank more in my 20s than the regular person does in an entire lifetime, for sure. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I'd be very surprised if, anybody, pretty much like, bar like a few exceptions, everybody in bands, like within our genre or whatever, like they all do the same, like it's, you see a lot of people getting sober nowadays because of like how hard we hit it. Caleb's from Beartooth, he's doing great at the moment. Just one that came to mind. But yeah, so it was like round about 2018 when I was like, yeah, I need to address this because it's getting quite silly. It was like an everyday thing, and it was just like, yeah, I need to nip this in the bud. And I thought it would be very much an easy switch to flip off. I thought I'd be able to be like, okay, I don't drink anymore. This is who I am. This is good. I can just be sober now. I was very wrong about that. And it's been like a 5-year struggle with it basically. So like I got sober for like the first few months in like 2018, found an excuse to start drinking again. And I didn't get enabled by anybody. An addict's mind is definitely, and it's weird to call myself an addict, but that's definitely what I was when I look at the behavior. I didn't get enabled by anybody. I definitely like tricked myself and tricked people into thinking I was okay again to do it. But then in the background, when I wasn't in front of people, the slippery slope kept getting, it was faster and faster every time. So like, I've in these 5 years, I've had like 3 months under my belt, go back to drinking for a few months, like maybe 6 months under my belt, and then, go back again or whatever. My longest stint was a year. And then I went back again because I thought, I've just proved to myself that I can do it and I don't need it. And then, then I slipped back again. And then that was the worst, probably one of the worst times of my life. Honestly, I had like a big mental breakdown. It was awful. And I managed to get out of it. I managed to get out the other side with a big support from my wife. Like God bless her. She's put up with some stuff from me, but she's she's been my rock and she's really helped me through it. And I'm honestly at a place now where, because before, one of the big things was that I had FOMO. You know what FOMO is? Fear of missing out. Yep. I had FOMO. I always just romanticized drinking. Every time I'd walk past a pub, I'd be like, oh, I just wish I could be. It's that wanting something so desperately that you can't have, that you are restricting yourself on because it's ruining your life. But this time around, I'm honestly free from that. Like, I walk past a pub now, it's just a building, and it's I did have help from, so I'm not going to promote this, but I adhered to something called the Sinclair method, which is you take a medication called naltrexone and you take it an hour before you drink, and it's an opioid inhibitor you have opioid receptors in your brain. It's an inhibitor where when you take this pill an hour before you drink, it blocks the receptors, so you don't get the euphoric high that I got from drinking, even just like on the first sip, because endorphins would flood my brain, and that's made me an addict. And then, so the Sinclair method, you drink to get yourself sober. Wow. which is so strange. It sounds so backwards, but over time, I rewired my brain back to that of a non-drinker. Um, it's called stop me if I'm rambling, but it's called pharmacological extinction. So the more you do it, the less that you want to drink and the less you pick up the alcohol. I definitely like it seems like a very appealing thing because you're like, oh, it means I get to drink again. This is great. But I stuck to it. Like every time I had a drink, I had this pill, and I got myself into a place where it felt like more like towards the end, it felt more of a chore to pick up that beer, and I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm finally at a place where I'm done. And I've been waiting to get here my whole adult life. And it feels like I've been let out of prison. Um, so yeah, I'm the longest I've been sober now because it beats my other stretch. I'm the longest I've been sober since I was 16 years old. So
Wow. That's incredible, man. I also did not know about the Sinclair method. Like I've heard that term before. I didn't know what exactly it meant, but that's interesting.
yeah,
Like, yeah, like, I don't know if it works for you and if it doesn't work for other people, then like, you know, that it is what it is. But I think that's a very interesting option because the other one is like the typical one, which is like Alcoholics Anonymous, right? Where like a support group that happens and saying like you had a very supportive wife that helped you get through it too.
and friends. Don't get me wrong. You know,
Yeah,
like the band, everyone.
of course.
Most of the band are sober nowadays. Loz has been sober for a long time. Sav's 2 years sober now. Those guys for different reasons. You know, mine was because like I just needed to because it was ruining my relationship with my wife, my friends. Not because I was being an arsehole, but just because like I was just ruining myself, my mind, my body, and I was in a dark place, and nobody wants to see someone they love go through that, you know. But yeah, it's funny, like you mentioned, like the the last time when I went through a bad episode, and I was just like, and something needs to fucking change. I'm like, I can't stay sober for the life of me. I always end up going back, and when I stumbled upon the Sinclair method, I was just like, I need to give it a shot because what I've tried to do, before with the orthodox ways of doing things, there's only a 5% success rate, meaning like you have got 95% chance of relapsing it by going down the orthodox routes of trying sobriety. Whereas the Sinclair method is a 70% success rate as opposed to 5. And I was like, I'm gonna try those fucking odds, man. And it worked. Like I said, I'm not here promoting that. It's not going to work for everybody. If you research it and if you're in a place similar to where I was and you research it, approach it with caution. Definitely do your research before and go through legal avenues of getting that medication. I went through the legal avenues. I know people who haven't, but yeah, just I'm not, approach it with caution. That's all I'll say.
Yeah,
But it
yeah.
works for me.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what I was just saying for me personally, I just find it admirable because, going through with my dad, my relationship with my dad, he just became such a more likable person, just more focused. And he just changed, right? Like I was very young, but I don't know, it's something I've always admired about my dad too. So, from onlookers, it's just, more respect. Yeah, I don't know how to.
Yeah.
I don't know how to segue.
Sorry. I was just gonna say, but like you absorb so much as a kid, whether you're like conscious of it or not. You would have been very much aware of that change back then. Like you said, you kind of could feel that there was a change, but you was definitely aware of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
for me lately, like what I was saying too, is that it's an inhibitor to like, help you, loosen up and have some fun. And so I tried to just challenge myself a little bit because I like to do that here and there. And like, one of them was like going to a nightclub with friends. I don't even really care for nightclubs. So what's going to help is some drinks, to just have some fun. So, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try completely sober because like, if I'm not having a good time, at least I can drive home. I ended up having a better time being sober. Like I was able to just like kind of like talk to people and like joke around. And then I'm like, okay, it's like 1 a.m. I'm like, I'm done. And then I just drove home. So it was like a good challenge. And then I'm kind of trying to continue that here and there when like, you don't need booze all the time.
No, you definitely don't, man. And that was a big thing for me as well. Like I didn't realize how socially anxious I was and like how much I used alcohol as a crutch when I was out socializing, you know. I kind of like had to I think what made those 5 years so difficult but necessary because I definitely did a lot of growing in that time, but I ended up kept relapsing because I was like life's just fucking hard, man. But I had to kind of like relearn how to be an adult because I've spent all my adult life just drunk, you know. So I had to just like figure out how to be human without it. Where you know it took a while, and this is what I'll say to anybody out there struggling: is that like it is a journey, and it's a fucking hard one, but it's worth it. It's worth it to get sober because it's like a monkey's being lifted off my back, man. Do you know what I mean? Like the chips are off my shoulder
Yeah.
for the first time in my life, and it's a good feeling.
That's incredible, man. Honestly, great job.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I'm just looking at the time, and I don't want to take too much of your time up, so just trying to figure out a segue over here. But just like a couple of questions on while she sleeps, I guess. But like something I just love knowing about musicians is just like their inspirations, right? Their metal or rock music inspirations. I'll ask that first, and then the non-metal stuff. But what are some of your like heavy music inspirations?
I'm definitely somebody who still loves and listens to the bands that I listened to when I was like in my teens. You know, like a big one for me was Darkest Hour. I absolutely like adore Darkest Hour.
You check out their new album?
Like, I've not checked it out yet, but I'm waiting to do it, and I need to be in the right moment to do it.
It's
and because
really
I like to listen to albums in their entirety. So I'm looking forward to that. I mean, yeah, some of the it's Deliverers, right?
Deliver Us, yeah.
That's just up there for me in terms of like that's like one of the top 5 albums, just generally for me. So yeah, they were such a huge influence. Thrice, like childhood, that they're like the childhood fucking godhead for all of us in the band. Actually, we love to go and see those guys as much as we can when they're passing through. I mean, back in the day they had like the Thrice Alliance and stuff, like the early fan club kind of internet fan club stuff, and like we were all a part of that. And I mean, you can tell where the influences come from, Sleep Society, and
Oh, true.
Like,
okay, cool.
we still love that band, man, like a lot.
There's
a bunch, man. Like fucking, I mean, Slipknot's always gonna be just a massive one.
That's funny because like I just checked out the newest Darkest Hour record. I loved it. It's similar to like Deliver Us. It's so good. It's very similar to the old stuff. Great. And then it's funny that you mentioned Thrice because like it's like almost like kind of like a meme with my channel and everything because like Thrice is always like #1 band to me no matter what. Like
same. Nothing or no one will knock them off top spot. It's just not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. And it's funny because like when people say they don't like a certain band, to me I'm just like, oh yeah, that's totally fine. It's not for everybody. But if someone says like, oh, I don't like Thrice, I'm like, you're wrong. Like it's the only band I will defend because I feel like they have like a song for everybody, right? They're just like they have like the metal side, that they also the indie side and very soft and folk. Now Dustin is doing like a country album. Like I don't know if you heard the new singles from Dustin, but
I haven't. No, I haven't.
Pure country, and I really like it. It's just a little bit similar to his older solo stuff, but really really good.
Yeah, that's cool.
So what are your non-metal influences then?
I wouldn't say like influences, so to speak. I mean, like if we're talking about like things that influence sleeps, like there's definitely a lot of Sean, for example, like because of his mum listened to like a lot of like 90s trance music, like that was always like going on in his house, which is, if it wasn't for that, it's funny like how like things that his mum listening to trance music in the kitchen would influence while she sleeps, like it's so funny, like those like little connections. But like I don't think we'd probably have like those synths in our music if it wasn't for that. But in terms of like actual. It's hard to, when like you get put on the spot and you just can't. Your brain just like, I don't want to think about anything.
Yeah.
But it probably, I'm like massive into a band called Normandy.
Oh, they're good. Yeah, I like them.
Normandy. Oh, dude, sorry, 1 second.
Yeah.
I just need to go and let my wife in.
I can edit this. I can edit this. You're good.
I've always do this. I lock the door from the inside with the keys in it, and she can't get back in from work.
Yeah, no worries. Let her in.
I just got given the death stare, so I'm not.
Don't worry. Only like 10 more minutes max of this.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. No, it's just I think she was waiting out there for like 5 minutes. Normandy. Are you familiar?
Yeah, they're good. I like them. I've only heard a few tracks here and there, but I think they're solid.
Yeah. I mean, like, love that band. I mean, they're not, they're not metal, but like they're still in like the alternative spectrum, I guess. Love Normandy. Love Charlie Simpson. I really fucking love his stuff.
Okay.
Charlie Simpson from Fight Star. He does like solo acoustic stuff, and really, really love that. Love like Lewis Capaldi and shit like that. These are like really like my guilty pleasures coming out now. But I think Lewis Capaldi's fucking awesome.
Lewis Capaldi, who's that? Scottish.
You don't know Lewis Capaldi?
No, I don't actually.
He's a Scottish artist. Massive in the UK, like does arenas and shit.
Yeah, I'm seeing massive name here on Google. No, I've never heard of him actually.
Yeah, check it out. He does like love songs and shit, but I don't know. Like if I'm talking about guilty pleasures here, like Lewis Capaldi's awesome.
I say there's no such thing as a guilty pleasure. Doesn't exist.
No, me neither. We've just been so open this entire time. I don't think we can really say we've got a guilty pleasure.
Yeah, exactly.
We're open people.
Well, what are your thoughts on the heavy music scene today?
I think it's in a really healthy place. I think it's so good to see bands like pushing their limits, especially like seeing bands like Architects. I mean, if we're talking about like the UK scene, especially because that's what I'm surrounded by, like Architects are really like pushing boundaries. I think we're in a similar position where it's like, do people just want to see us write the same record over and over, or do they want to see where we can push our musical boundaries? Because that's how the heavy music scene evolves and changes. Like, if we didn't, we'd still be getting 2000 the noughties fucking like new metal if bands never changed and kept pushing it. Mm-hmm. And I think all that's happening is that we're just pushing and going into places into the land of the unknown, and I think it's only healthy that we explore this. Like Bury Tomorrow doing great things as well. Malevolence in the UK doing great things. Bring Me, they're just in a lane of their own. They always have been. Mm-hmm. But like I think it's in a good place. I mean, Beartooth's new record, that absolutely killed it.
Mm-hmm, I agree.
I think Caleb's like a genius songwriter. He there's some songs on that, and you can hear you can hear their sound evolve too, which is just really nice to hear. So yeah, I think it's in a good place, and I think it needs to keep people on their toes. And I think it's not boring, put it that way, and it only makes the future intriguing, and it makes it a mystery, because if everybody did the same thing, then people would complain about that too. So you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
True. And I agree that it's looking really good, especially like even UK, like Loathe, Sleep Token. Like I feel like the UK's just been crushing
of course. Loathe, Sleep Token. Fucking what a phenomenon that is. Where did that? Do you know what I mean? Like you went to the did you go to the Wembley show?
Yeah, I did.
How was that?
Oh, it was incredible. I got invited out by the opener, Health, and got to hang out backstage and stuff. It was just an incredible experience. It was very emotional because it was such a big event for them and everyone involved. It It was a really good concert experience, unlike anything I've ever been to.
Yeah. And did the fact that his voice went, did that like hinder the show, or did it like create more of a spectacle out of it?
Oh, it made it more of a spectacle. Like there were like the tabloids saying like, "Oh, he lost his voice," but like if you were actually there, I think there's something so cool about the whole audience just saying all the words. It felt more memorable because of it. At first, like when it happened, I was just like, "Oh no, this sucks! Like this is so disappointing." But as soon as the fan base just picks it up and just starts singing, it just totally changed the room. It just made it more eclectic.
Yeah, definitely, man. I can only imagine what he must have been going through in his own head with like, with such a build up to a show like that, and for the trajectory their band has been on. He must have felt so much like, because that just doesn't come out of anywhere. That must have been like all day, or maybe even days, must have been like, oh fuck, like how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
And then to be on that stage and then having to call it, and like so good that that's how the crowd reacted. And then that in it, like you said, it felt like that special, because like, yeah, I don't think people would have reacted any other way, but like, yeah, like it must have been crazy for him.
Yeah,
it must have been crazy.
I also think he's a little bit of a perfectionist too, because he did start to sing again, and like he sounded like totally fine. Like it sounded really good to me. Like I'm like, he didn't do the screams, but I'm like, man, you sound still amazing.
Yeah. It must have been that thing. Like he must have been like, do I potentially ruin my voice for potentially, how much strain is like, do I like call it now, or while it's safe, or like potentially damage it and maybe even do irreversible damage, So
that's a good point.
Yeah, I respect his call, and it must have been a very hard decision.
Yeah, great show. I'm very excited for the upcoming show for While She Sleeps, the tour, the North American tour. Just the final question, speaking of the future of music, what's the future of While She Sleeps, and what does it look like?
Honestly, we've got like another busy year. We're going to be hitting a lot of territories again. The future of While She Sleeps, we just want to be able to sustain this band where it's at. That is the dream, just to be able to keep doing what we're doing. We don't take it for granted. We're very aware that this is one of the best jobs in the world. It's amazing, and to have so many people rally around you, and it's not about like people putting us on a pedestal. Like I feel like we've created a community which is brought so many people together, which is amazing. So if we can just continue to do that, that's all we could ever hope for.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited for the future, and again, I'm excited for the Toronto show. But dude, I appreciate you so much for taking the time out of your day. Of course, man. Self Hell again coming out March 29th. Excited to check that out. But dude, enjoy the rest of your evening. Go say hi to your wife. Yeah,
I will. I'll go and apologize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Just leave that whole bit in, by the way.
Just leave it all in, even the silence.
It'll be funny. Whatever, man.
All right. Well, really nice time chatting with you, dude.
Yeah, you too, dude. Are we doing a pretend sign off and then we'll stay on for a proper goodbye, or are you gonna hang up?
I'm going to hang up.
Okay, cool. Just so.
All right. See you, dude.
Okay, dude. Nice one. See you later.